Here's today's First Word Daily Devotion.
On December the 18th, we have a double feature today. We look at Obadiah, which is a very short book of the 12, and then, of course, we come into Jonah 1 and 2. And here, Obadiah, we have hope for the faithful in the end, the vision of Obadiah. Look over at verse 3. The pride of your heart is deceived, or has deceived you, you who live in the clefts of the rock, in your lofty dwelling, who say in your heart, who will bring me down to the ground? Though you soar aloft like the eagle, though you rest, or though your nest is set among the stars, from there I will bring you down, declares the Lord. And so there's this particular posture that the people have, that we have been privy to, that the text has exploited. These people are prideful, and they think everything's okay when God is saying, no, just you wait. Everything's not okay. As a man sows, that will he also reap. And in their case, the sowing is not good. Look at Obadiah 15. Again, same pattern. Since it's only one chapter, you don't say Obadiah 1:15. It's just Obadiah 15. For the day of the Lord is near upon all the nations. As you have done, it shall be done to you. Your deeds shall return on your own head. For as you have drunk on my holy mountain, so all the nations shall drink continually. They shall drink and swallow, and shall be as though they had never been. But in Mount Zion there shall be those who escape, and it shall be holy. The house of Jacob shall possess their own possessions. The house of Jacob shall be like a fire, the house of Joseph a flame, the house of Esau stubble. They shall burn them and consume them, and there shall be no survivor for the house of Esau, for the Lord has spoken. Verse 19 then, those of the Negev shall possess Mount Esau, and those of the Shephelim shall possess the land of the Philistines. And that Negev there, that's a low spot, and that mountain there is Mount Esau. Negev is another word for a valley or a river, and so here we have this Negev is a low spot, and they will possess this high spot. They shall possess the land of Ephraim, the land of the Samaria. The Benjamin shall possess Gilead. The exiles of this host of the people of Israel shall possess the land of the Canaanites as far as Zarephath. The exiles in Jerusalem who are in Sepharad shall possess the cities of the Negev. Saviors shall go up to Mount Zion to rule Mount Esau, and the kingdom shall be the Lord's. And so there is hope in Obadiah, hope for a salvation that the Lord will bring. Saviors shall go up to Mount Zion to rule Mount Esau, and the kingdom shall be the Lord's. Now let's look at Jonah then, a very important passage. Now the word of the Lord came to Jonah the son of Amittai, saying, Arise, go to Nineveh, that great city, and call out against it, for their evil has come up before me. But Jonah rose to flee to Tarshish. Now that's a contrast here. He says, go to Nineveh. No, Jonah disobeys, and he goes to Tarshish from the presence of the Lord. He went down to Joppa and found a ship going to Tarshish. So he paid the fare, went down into it to go with them to Tarshish, away from the presence of the Lord. Now that's a lot of times, isn't it, that we have said Tarshish. That's just a hard word to say. So let's just go ahead and say it again. Tarshish. Say it together. Tarshish. All right, that's enough. All right, let's go then over to this next scene. Of course, the tempest that comes upon the waves, and the sailors, they are trying to figure out why, and they come to Jonah. They say, what's your country, and of what people are you? And look at this wonderful reference here at verse 9. And he said to them, I am a Hebrew. I fear Yahweh, Elohim of heaven, who made the sea and the dry land. Now, I said the Hebrew there, of course, that's the Tetragrammaton. We've talked about that. He said, I fear the Lord, the God of heaven, who made the sea and the dry land. So Jonah here is witnessing even amongst the sailors. And of course, he is a prophet, even if he is reluctant and disobedient. And look at verse 16. Notice verse 16. The men feared the Lord, the Yahweh, exceedingly, and offered a sacrifice to Yahweh and made vows. And so this is introducing us to something important in the book of Jonah. The nations are worshiping God, and that's a pattern that we're going to see repeated through Jonah. Verse 17 is a jewel here. The Lord appointed a great fish to swallow up Jonah. Jonah was in the belly of the fish. Here's another reference for us. 3 days. 3 days. And that's important. That's a direct reference. Of course, Jesus used this reference to refer to his time in the grave. And of course, there's a footnote at verse 17. And the Lord appointed or had appointed. Now, there's a major theological distinction between God, whether or not he purposed it or reacted. And you say, well, which one is it? And I want to just simply say, as best I can, it's simply both. He had appointed and he did appoint the great fish. And notice this prayer. And in this prayer, he has a proper focus. But because of time, we have to move into Revelation. A lot of details today. In Revelation, we move from seals to 7 trumpets. Verse 7 then, the first trumpet. The first angel blew his trumpet, and there followed hail and fire mixed with blood. These were thrown upon the earth, and a third of the earth was burned up. A third of the trees were burned up, and all green grass was burned up. Verse 8, here's the second trumpet. The second angel blew, and a third of the sea became blood. A third of the living creatures in the sea died, and a third of the ships were destroyed. Here is judgment coming. Here's the third trumpet. The third angel blew his trumpet. And then, of course, the star named Wormwood comes, and a third of the waters became wormwood or bitter, that is, sort of like brackish, and many people died from the water because it had been made wormwood or bitter. And here's the fourth angel at verse 12. Third of the sun was struck, third of the moon, third of the stars, so that a third of their light may be darkened. And then, of course, here we have a word from an eagle. Then I looked and heard an eagle crying with a loud voice as it flew directly overhead, Woe, woe, woe to those who dwell on the earth at the blast of the other trumpets that the 3 angels are about to blow. In other words, just hold on. Chapter 9 then, the 5th trumpet. The 5th angel blew his trumpet. A star fell from heaven, and a key fell from heaven to earth, and was given a key to the shaft of the bottomless pit. This is serious stuff here. Listen. He opened the shaft of the bottomless pit, and from the shaft rose smoke like the smoke of a great furnace. And the sun and the air were darkened in the smoke from the shaft. Then the smoke came locust on the earth, and they were given power, like the power of scorpions on the earth. Verse 11, they have a king over them, the angel of the bottomless pit. His name in Hebrew is Abaddon, and in Greek he is called Apollyon. And of course, that means destruction and destroyer. Verse 12 then, the first woe has passed, but 2 woes are still to come. The 6th angel blew his trumpet in verse 13, and then a third of mankind die. And of course, look at verse 20. Such a sad verse. The rest of mankind who were killed by these plagues did not repent of the works of their hands, nor give up worshiping demons and idols and gold and silver and bronze and stone and wood, which cannot see or hear or walk, nor did they repent or of their murders or their sorceries or their sexual immorality or their thefts. In other words, why does God do, again, this same pattern repeated through this apocalyptic literature? Why is God doing all that he does, whether it be provisions or judgments? It's so that he can turn our hearts to him. And in the midst of all of this chaos, we have Psalm 138 here to remind us at verse 7, Though I walk in the midst of trouble, you preserve my life. You stretch out your hand against the wrath of my enemies, and your right hand delivers me. Listen to this next verse, beloved believer. The Lord will fulfill his purpose for me. Your steadfast love, O Lord, endures forever. Do not forsake the work of your hands. You may read apocalyptic literature and have some despair. Don't. Just remember the Lord will fulfill his purpose for you. And his purpose, listen, is steadfast love.